Okay, I would like to call to order the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board. It is Tuesday, August 4th. It is now 7 o'clock. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ms. Timmy, can I have a roll call, please?
Absolutely, sir. Chairman Sean Poole.
Here.
Vice Chairman Gene Nelson.
Here.
Member Larry Daly.
Here.
Member Lori Simpson.
Here.
Member Randy Stout. Please let the record show that Mr. Stout's not here yet. Member Bod Brelow.
Here.
And please let the record show that Member Dennis Cap is unable to attend this evening.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Little housekeeping first. Any discussion regarding the minutes from April 22nd? Some people hear them. If not, do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. On the agenda this evening is discussion regarding the waterfront park improvements and the grant application. I'm going to defer initially to our building official. So Tom, you want to take that then?
Yes, I can introduce this item for you, and all of the application materials for the FERDAP grants are in the packet. Hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at it. This matter was discussed by the City Council at the last meeting, and the Council approved a resolution for each grant submittal. These grant submittals are not matching. The city would receive $50,000 for each grant submittal. They have been suggested to us by our grant writing consultant. We've done the work on it. This meeting is a requirement of the grant submittal. In most cities, this would go to a Parks and Rec board, but we don't have one. So just going over the materials, the grants are point-based, to where we're required to have a number of different improvements at the park. Nothing is designed yet, and any final improvements will be a decision of the City Council on exactly what to put and where to put it. So what we have done is, and you'll notice this in the last part of the packet, you get points for each type of activity. So what we have done is applied for additional surface materials to the existing playground. There is a particular type of mulch that is used on recreational playgrounds. It's called fiber mulch, and that material can be placed there to improve the playground. And once again, there's no final decision on this. This is a matter that will be discussed at the council level, and the council will make a final decision. We've suggested other playground improvements. Shade covers are one of them. The parking area, we're suggesting that we install some concrete curb stops, concrete bumpers. That was a requirement of the original FCT grant, and it has not been done. So we wanted to do that. That's a very inexpensive improvement. We wanted to make improvements to the existing restroom facilities there, and make improvements to the kayak launch, and improve and add additional picnic facilities. So once again, there are two grants. They're $50,000 apiece. These grants have generally been funded by the state of Florida, and we're asking that you take a look and would recommend approval on this. And if I can answer any questions, I'd be glad to do so.
Okay. Thank you. Got it. Okay, first I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions for Mr. O'Neill, and then I will open it up to the citizens to ask questions as well. Anyone on the board? Bob?
Chairman, I'd like to ask Mr. O'Neill, the point system
does it drive to a certain threshold that we're looking to achieve so that they'll approve the grant, or are they just simply looking at it to see the merit of the proposal?
Yes, it's population-based, and I believe we need 30 points for each grant, and we
Okay.
have split this up into a number of categories, and we've achieved that in both of the grant
All right,
submittals
so we're looking for a total of 30 points
for each grant.
for each one. Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. I noticed on the point system, they like restrooms and playgrounds, and that's basically what those largest items that we're asking for, it seems like, which is good. And just a general question, on these restrooms, are they locked up after hours or something, or
Yes.
they are?
The park's closed at dusk right now, and the restrooms are locked.
And the restrooms themselves are locked?
Yes.
That's good.
I had a question. At one time, they talked about when they did the dredging, they were going to put all of the fill on this park and then redo it afterwards. So if we do dredging, where would we put?
That's yet to be determined. I don't think we would be allowed to put it on the park site.
Any questions? Yeah. Okay. I'd open up this time for citizens. Dale?
Dr. Massad? Microphone on for you.
There we go. Dale Massett, 8221 Hayward Lane. Tom, I got a few questions. I don't have the point system. Can these grants be used for the waterfront pier that broke down?
A portion of them could.
Okay. Do you have a number?
I'd have to look at it. I'm not sure without calculating it out.
Okay. I have no problem with mulch. Do you know how many bumpers we're going to put in?
It's yet to be determined.
Okay. Restrooms open for all these new events?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Are we going to keep these new restrooms open for event center stuff?
That's a decision
To
of the
be
council.
Okay. Well, my suggestion would be, obviously, the pier needs to be fixed. What I'm trying, the only reason I'm here is we've got this master plan. I guess you guys all got it in your packet. And I don't know if the council, this committee, have read this or have been presented this or the deed from the FCT. And when I look at this and I look at the deed, it appears to me that there's a lot of things that the engineer put in this drawing that are not allowed by deed. And I guess, so my question would be, did the engineer who drew this, was he instructed to follow the FCT deed?
At that time, when that master plan was completed, part of their task was to update the management plan for the park, and that's been done and approved by FCT. So all that you see on that diagram has been approved by FCT.
Okay. Answered all my questions. Thank you very well done. And so we'll give 60-day notice after the council approves what this committee decides?
60 days, we have to have this in by August 14.
Okay, I thought in the deed it says we have to give them a 60-day notice is what we plan to do, to be approved.
Oh, yeah, anything that's specific relative to design would go back in front of the city council. for
But
their
I mean, to the
approval.
FCT it says we
Yeah,
need.
and we would notify them as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Lori.
Thank you. Absolutely. Sandy?
Sandy Spalding, 8207 Old Post Road. I have one question about this mulch. Now, the last time they put mulch in the park, none of you might remember, maybe you would, Gene, maybe you would, Sean. After a couple of main rains, I had a yard full of mulch. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Remember that? What are we gonna put in the park now? Because last time, I paid for that mulch to be removed. And then, of course, our city manager at the time said, well, you could have came to us, of which I did. This time I'm not gonna pay for it. You got it? What kind of mulch are we gonna put in this park? And am I going to be up to here in mulch in my yard that I can't pull my car out?
We will design it to where it won't float away. And it's a particular type of playground mulch that doesn't splinter if children fall on it, and that's the intent.
Well, that's what they told me last time. But it floats. Does this float? You see, that's the problem. It floats.
It will be designed to where it doesn't wind up on your yard.
You promise me?
Yes, ma'am.
You know what it's like if you break a promise to me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay. Okay, I'll go ahead and close that. Any other questions or comments from the board now that we've heard what the citizens had to say? No? I mean, my only question that I guess I have is, I'm, excuse me, I'm all for taking money from the state for free. I love that, especially since we pay as much money in taxes as we do. So my question is that some of it seems to be a slight bit ambiguous, and I want to make sure that you had already stated once the design elements have to be approved as a secondary thing by council. Is that correct? So
That's correct.
anything that we see on this conceptually as a drawing, it's fantastic. I mean, I do have some concerns as far as the amount of parking and where they're gonna do the parking, but that's not my concerns. We're not here for that reason. We're here to approve and, make a suggestion regarding, moving forward on the grant. But I wanna make sure that the proper controls are put in place once the money is received, that it is council that will be approving any specific design structures that are going into place after that fact. Correct?
That's correct.
All
It
right.
will be city council.
Okay.
Chairman, I do have one other question.
Sure.
Tom, you mentioned that the previous grant had approved money to be spent for bumpers. Car bumpers?
I can't tell you if that occurred or not. I know that when the property was conveyed to the city, that it was a requirement of the state to define a parking area, and anybody that's visited the park knows that there is not one that's defined.
Right, but you made the opening statement that the bumpers had been approved, part of a prior grant that just didn't happen. Did I misunderstand you?
I'm not aware if there was a grant a while back on this for parking bumpers. I don't know. We're talking about the same type of curb stops that you see in a typical
I
parking
understand what
lot.
we're talking about. I was just,
Right.
what I'm getting at is the proper expenditure of the money once we get the grant. If it's earmarked for a certain improvement, we need to make sure that improvement gets placed. And I had misunderstood you to say that earlier on when you were introducing this topic, that the bumpers were something that had been prior approved that just never got done.
Well, the state required that a defined parking space be installed.
So it wasn't a missing grant money, it was just simply the
It was a
requirement was not
requirement from the
fulfilled.
state.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted that clarified. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions, comments, from the board?
I'm kind of in agreement with the gentleman in the audience that said we'd like to see the pier renovated. If any of this money could go toward that pier renovation, I'd rather see that than some of the other facilities listed. I'd like to see at least considered that the pier get some money toward renovation. I don't know what it would take. It may be more than this grant will allow. But that does seem to be like one of the higher priority items in that park.
Now, can I, based off of that statement, can I ask a question then? Was the reason the pier was it not listed on there as a renovation due to the fact that how it ranks in, as far as the point structure is concerned? Because I see we have room in the point structure. One, you said they had to be a minimum of 30, and we're at 34 on phase 1 and 32 on phase 2. And I know that it doesn't rank as high, it ranks at 2 and 3, depending on the ranking on the back here. Was there a reason that the pier was in fact overlooked, or, because I guess that, knowing the citizens in the area, that is a major concern for most of the people in the area. The fact that it has blight is probably the understatement of the year. You have to walk by that pier and see that you can't even access it. So, and if, one of the major things people have always said is, when we get some money for Waterfront Park, can we fix the pier? And I'm like, well, yeah, you need to go to see city council for that. I mean, the board we don't make that decision. We can make a suggestion, obviously, but that is obviously a concern of many of the citizens. So is there a reason we can't try to figure out how to work that through it?
Well, the council voted to direct the staff to seek bids for the demolition of the pier.
Oh, that's interesting.
Have we received those bids?
We've received one bid.
What kind of number we're
That'll
looking at?
go on the next city council meeting,
Okay.
and they can vote to accept it or decline it.
Weren't we supposed to get a boat launch area over at this park? That was a rumor I heard a long time ago.
That's
Listed.
totally unrelated to this. This is just a grant application.
Okay. Yeah, because on the conceptual drawing, the pier renovation is listed as one of the things they were talking about doing. So now instead we're considering the possibility of just removing it completely, it sounds like.
That was discussed at a council meeting.
Okay, so
So-
that would be something more directed towards the citizens would come and voice their opinions and concerns at council.
Sure.
Absolutely, okay. All right, but, because I imagine you'll have some people here for that one. Any other questions, concerns? I'm gonna go on the record and say this is the reason we're here is very clearly laid out. We're here to make a recommendation based off the budget for the application for the grant. I personally, even though I find the fact that there's certain things that it seems very ambiguous, and that the citizens themselves seem obviously very concerned about how it's moving forward, and I implore council to try to look for a better way to kind of move forward as far as laying it out very clearly. So, due to the fact that, I mean, I for one, had no idea they were talking about knocking the pier down. So, and it's, especially when I get this packet and it says pier renovation on it. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm thinking, oh, it didn't make it phase 1 and 2, it'll make phase 3. No, we're gonna take it out. So, I just wanna go on the record and state that I find it ambiguous, and I find it a little unnerving that it is so ambiguous. So, but that being said, do I have a motion?
I agree with what you just said.
Okay,
As far as a motion to approve the grant process,
sure.
I'll make that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have any other motions? Any other discussion? Besides what was on the agenda, because it's pretty clear. Do I have a motion to adjourn possibly?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.